Good morning. This is the time and place for the Planning Hearing Officer hearing for Wednesday, March 11th, 2015. My name is Vilya Zamaitaitis, and I will be presiding as the hearing officer for today's meeting. We have one case on today's agenda, and the relevant exhibits are posted on the panels located directly behind me. The hearing will proceed as follows. I'll read the description of the application and the request. I'll read the reports received from the city departments and other letters and communications from interested parties. The case planner will make a brief overview of the case to give analysis and make a recommendation, and the applicant will be asked to come forward stating both name and address and will be asked to present the case within a 15-minute time limit. Others in support or in opposition to the application and interested parties will be asked to come forward to speak, again clearly stating both name and address within the 3-minute limit. Lastly, the applicant will be given the opportunity to make closing remarks, if desired, in response to the testimonies given by the preceding speakers. The hearing will be closed and the case will be taken under submission. After the hearing, the decision will be prepared in writing and will be in the form of a letter sent to the applicant and to all parties who responded to the public notice, either by speaking at this hearing or by submitting written responses and having provided their name and mailing address. The date of the decision, date on the letter, will be the date appearing on the letter, that is. Appeals. Appeals under the provisions of Title 30, Chapter 3062 of the Glendale Municipal Code. The decision may be appealed to the Planning Commission within 15 days of the date of the decision. Anyone wishing to appeal may obtain forms and permit services, building and safety section located on the same floor of this building. If you wish to speak, please write your name and address on one of the speaker cords provided at the table by this front door and submit it to our planning assistant. I would also like to add that that the official proceedings of the zoning administrator hearing are recorded on tape as part of the public record. That said, we'll go to the agenda. The case on today's agenda is for a variance, case number PVAR 1426618 for Concord Street at 701 Concord. The applicant is OEI Investments, LLC, and the case planner is Roger Kiesel. The project description is to allow for an addition to an existing single-family residence with a minimum 4.5-foot street front setback.
14.
I'm sorry, 14. Did I?
I think you said 4.
Okay, I apologize.
It's
14 and a half street front setback located at 701 Concord Street in the R1 low-density residential zone, Floriar District 2. And in terms of staff comments, there were no significant items, pretty much standard that I've reviewed. Standard conditions from the Glendale Water and Power. There are no code enforcement cases against this property. There are 2 oak trees, and so there were notations made by the urban forester, and other than that, I don't see anything outstanding. So I'd like to turn the hearing over to Mr. Roger Kiesel, the case planner, for a brief overview.
Good morning, Ms. Zematitis. OEI Investments is requesting approval of a variance to allow construction of a 383 square foot addition to an existing 1,477 square foot single family residence within the street front setback. The subject site is zoned R1, which requires a 25-foot street front setback. The proposed setback is 14.5 feet. The project is located at 701 Concord Street. 4 findings of fact need to be made in order to grant a variance. Staff believes these findings can be made and recommends approval of the variance. The intent of the minimum 25-foot street front setback is to maintain open landscape areas between the street and residences for pedestrians and drivers to enjoy a pleasant, uncrowded streetscape. The front yard of the subject lot is located actually adjacent to Omar Street. It's kind of a corner lot, the unique situation. From the west, Omar Street starts as a standard 50-foot wide local street As the street continues east, it narrows, and then finally approximately about 100 feet west of the subject site really becomes a narrow one-way driveway which ends at the subject site. No drivers and few pedestrians benefit from an open landscape streetscape at this location due to the unique characteristics of development in this immediate area. The public presence of the subject site is really from Concord Street, the street side yard. And given the orientation of the lot, the Concord Street side is actually the street side yard and requires a minimum of 6 feet setback. The existing house is set back 20 feet from this street, and while the proposed addition will be in line with the existing residence, there's a slight curvature of Concord Street, and so the minimum street side setback is approximately 16 feet for a small portion of the addition, but the addition will be in line with the existing house. The location of the lot at the end of Omar Street driveway is the exceptional circumstance and condition applicable to the subject site that does not apply generally to other properties in the same zone or neighborhood. Most streets in the city that are not through streets are cul-de-sacs. Sidewalks are commonly located on cul-de-sac streets, and houses located adjacent to the cul-de-sac, the bulb portion of the street, typically are part of and contribute to the public realm with standard front yards. Automobiles can turn around in the bulb area, and pedestrian access is not constrained. This contrasts with the situation in the present case. Due to the Verdugo wash, Omar Street tapers from its intersection with Estelle Avenue, then becomes really a driveway and narrows such that only one lane of automobile traffic, is accommodated. The street dead ends at the subject site. The area on the subject site proposed for the addition does not really function nor provide the benefit that a typical single-family front yard provides. The granting of their variance will not be materially detrimental to the public welfare because the subject site is zoned for single-family residences, and the project is in addition to an existing single-family house. The health of the protected trees on the site will be maintained as conditioned, and the street side yard will continue to contribute positively to the pedestrian driver experience along Concord Street. The granting of the variance will not be contrary to the objectives of the ordinance. One of the objectives of the zoning ordinance is to accommodate reasonable development. The existing single-family house is a relatively modest 1,477 square feet. The applicant is proposing a 383 square foot addition, which makes the house about 1,860 square feet. While not small, the house will still be modest in size and will comply with all other R1 development standards. Another objective of the 25-foot minimum street front setback in the R1 zone, as I've mentioned before, is to maintain spacious, pleasant, and landscape streetscapes for both pedestrians and drivers to enjoy as they travel through Glendale's residential neighborhoods. The front yard of the subject site is located at the end of Omar Street, which is a narrow driveway. This front yard does not function or provide the benefits of the typical residential front yard. The Concord Street frontage of the subject site really does. The addition proposed will be in line with the existing house and will provide a generous street side setback, which will maintain and enhance the Concord Street streetscape at this location. Staff supports granting the variance with the draft findings and conditions, and that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Kiesel. In doing a site visit, I noticed also that there was a grade differential from Concord Street to the subject property.
Right. That I detailed that in the staff report. I just didn't verbally say that in my summary.
And approximately how many feet is Concord Street
Higher?
Higher than because obviously there's only a pedestrian walkway leading from Concord.
There's a
staircase.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's about 6 to 8 feet.
Okay.
The street is 6 to 8 feet higher than the lot.
And those trees or shrubs, I don't know if we have we have an aerial image, but if we do a streetscape Google search, you can see that the house is pretty much screened from Concord.
From by the landscaping.
By the landscape area. Now, is that landscaping on public right-of-way, or is that actually on the private property?
I believe it's on private property.
Okay, maybe the applicant can better address that question. So, with that, I would like to invite Mr. Jordan Tree, listed as the applicant.
Joshua.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
You can read the writing. So, thank you. If you don't mind adding your name and your address for the record, please.
Yes, good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. My name's Joshua Tree, and I am at 701 Concord Street, Glendale, California, 91202.
Thank you. So you have 15 minutes to give a brief overview, also to describe the findings, and if you don't mind answering that last question.
Yeah, there were two details I just wanted to point out and answer the question. All of the landscaping that you can see, and there's actually an image in the package there, if you'd like to reference it, is on private property. So it sits below the grade, and the grade is actually 54 inches, so it's a little over 4.5 feet down. And then you'd mentioned that they were oak trees. They're actually, the protected trees are sycamore.
Sycamores.
Yeah, just as a correction.
Thank you.
So the intention of the project is really to upgrade and improve the overall layout of the home. And we've been very conscious of preserving the environment, not only for the home itself and what is the front yard of this very unique property, but also conscious of the Glendale standards and working within them. The request for the setback from the traditional 25 feet to 14 feet 9 inches, I believe is what we're at, is really because of the unique lot situation in the Verdugo Wash. As Mr. Kiesel pointed out, Omar Street is a very unique lane. It becomes a private property. And the two pieces of property adjacent to it, 707 Omar and 713 Omar, have been given similar variances for a front setback, recognizing the unique characteristics of this lane. So we really used existing precedents as well as what the city had granted with other properties as guidance in developing this. What we'd like to create is a room that really improves the overall layout of the house and also really bringing in the outdoors. So if you look at the outside, it will be French doors that open up to the inside, creating a flow-through into the existing kitchen and then a large window, matching the architectural consistency of the property, but also highlighting the large sycamore tree and creating a great room inside of the home. It currently doesn't really have that, and so it will create a much better overall layout to the property, as well as really integrating the outdoor environment for the home inside. As far as adding to what Mr. Kiesel said, because of the location of the addition, not only is it consistent with the other variances on the property, but also will not have really any impact on what is mostly walking traffic for Omar. And then because of the large amount of landscaping, which is mature and, at least from our perspective, is relatively permanent in large mature trees, isn't really seen that much from Concord Street. And what would be is keeping architecturally consistent with and a beautiful addition to the existing structure. Also, if you look at the pictures, there is an existing patio there, so we're not really removing any yard, and we're working within the existing footprint of the home, not really trying to expand from its footprint, but rather work inside of it to make an overall layout. And outside of what Mr. Kiesel pointed out, I think he hit most of the high points as far as why. Is there any other information I could answer for you or details I could provide?
No, I have no other questions.
Okay. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time and consideration.
Thank you. I see a number of other individuals in the audience, but I have no other speaker cards. Would anyone care to speak? No, I'm seeing shaking of the head. With that, I will take the case under submission, and the hearing is now officially closed. Thank you for coming.
So, did that answer